Who is Final Fantasy XIV writing to? So hi everyone, I am Apocalypsis, and I stream normally in Spanish, so I do content in Spanish. This is one of the first times that I'm going to be venturing out and just talking about this issue in particular in English, because I just want to express my thoughts out there, and I'm not sure what kind of audience I'll reach out. But in essence, there has been a lot of discourse about the storyline or the MSQ with the new Final Fantasy XIV expansion Dawntrail. And this is a spoiler-free discussion and a point that I want to make, just talking about the story and the writing in general. But I think it is a really good story. So it's a good story overall. The issues that may be out there, it's about the writing itself. And it seems like Final Fantasy XIV hasn't quite decided who they're writing to or who their audience is. If we look back into Heavensworth, Stormblood, and the Shadowbringer expansions, you can see that this is not a storyline that is written for children in any way, right? Like, some of the writers really took a more dark approach, and it wasn't so much of a basic writing. So this is not to say to compare that the past expansions have been dark in nature and that this one seems to have a more positive tone, which it kind of does, and that is a difference. But that is not my main issue. My main issue is with the writing itself. If you can look at characters, some of the characters and how they've been written in the past, they were really smart with a bunch of nuance in it. One character that comes to mind, and actually there's a lot, but one character that comes to mind is Emmett Selk, right? And the way that he was written. Typically the Scions are written very basic, like the Scions themselves, or the Scions of the Seven Dawn, they're written somewhat basic. Like, there's not a lot of, a lot about them that is that interesting per se. They're all just solid, good characters, and that's it. And they're written in that way. But now as we go into Dawntrail, I feel like the story itself is captivating. It is entertaining. It's solid. They got really creative in what they took out from this storyline. However, the writing, I can't tell if it's written for an 8-year-old kid or for a 50-year-old person, right? Because there's just this up and down of how their writing is displayed. And a lot of times, like me, I am close to being a 40-year-old man, and I enjoy the story, but when it comes to what some of the aspects and the way that they were written, I can't really, it's hard to follow. It's hard, like I cringe a little bit as I was going through the story. There was definitely an element of cringe in there for sure, because I just couldn't follow along with what was happening in the story. One comparison that I have is with the story in the book The Da Vinci Code. I thought The Da Vinci Code was an excellent story. It was a great story. It was captivating, it was entertaining, it was creative, it was all of those things. But the way that it was written, it was very basic and elementary, and like, come on, stop telling me so much and show me, right? And a lot of that was happening definitely in Dawntrail. I just hope that in the future, the writing itself improves, or at the very least, they can be honest with us and tell us who the intended audience is. Because right now, we don't really know. And I think that even within the dialogue and the writing and the conversations within some of these characters, if you're writing, say, for a 14-year-old, you can be more advanced than that, right? There are some 14-year-old kids that should be now getting into reading about Shakespeare, Mark Twain, and some of these other, writers who are solid writers in literature and in storytelling. So who are we below? Are we trying to appeal to an audience that's below that age? 11, 10, 9? Do we really want a 9-year-old picking up Final Fantasy XIV and playing it? They can, but I don't know if that's who the main audience right now is. So yeah, I just hope that moving forward, the writers can determine, like, okay, 14 or 15-year plus, and not insulting the intelligence of those individuals who might be 15-year-old, who's getting now into Shakespeare, who are trying to determine what good writing looks like. This is insulting, in my opinion, as to the basic and elementary style of the writing itself. So, that's really my take on the story and the discourse out there. Again, I don't want to say that it was a bad story per se, but navigating through it as it was written in some of the dialogue and conversations were they definitely had me cringing a little bit. Um, and it you can tell because there is a new writer in the story. It's no longer who we have, Ishikawa, and some of these other writers in the past. Um, I haven't done my research as to who the new writer is and what kind of projects they've done in the past, but it was a very much like a Barney type of, in a lot of ways, it was like a Barney storytelling writing that was happening here. And I don't know if that's what we want or that's what the developers want. Because if that's the direction that they want to take, I just hope that they're upfront and honest with us. Like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, moving forward, Final Fantasy XIV is going to be more geared towards, children of 6 to 12 years old. And then that way we can kind of, decide from that whether we want to, do the MSQ for that, because there's a lot of different aspects that we enjoy for Final Fantasy XIV. It's not just the story, but at that point, if that's the case, then we can just get to skipping the MSQ and done with it, and then just get to the rating or get to the other things in the game that we want to do. But then the story will not be the main thing, because that was the main appeal. And again, not saying that the story was bad, but the way that you're giving it to us, the delivery of it, it wasn't that good, or it lacked, or not that it was not good. Let me take that back, because it's not fair to say that it was not good. It was basic, it was elementary, it was fitting for a 8, 9, 10, perhaps 11-year-old kid. So that is kind of my take on it. I am not saying that, this mixed reviews are that, if I was to rate it, I'm not rating it a 5 of 10 or 6 of 10, although the writing itself, I will. Like, if you tell me that the writing, that this story was directed towards, mature audience, like 17 plus, and that's the writing that you intended, then yes, I'll probably give the writing of the story about a D-. But if you tell me that this was intended for a 5 to 11-year-old range, then I'll be like, okay, that's like a B+. Sure, that's a good grade. It just depends. I just don't know who it was written for. So it's hard to give it a grade without knowing who did you try to give this story to? Who did you intend to consume this story in the way that it was delivered? Again, overarching, it was good. I thought the story had a bunch of different leadership lessons and aspects, like as you go through it, that it seemed more intended for a mature audience, but then the writing seemed more geared toward an elementary, like, children audience. So what's it gonna be moving forward? I just hope they tell us that. But that's it. That's the points that I wanted to make. Thank you for watching. Like I said, I typically do content in Spanish. I'll leave my Twitter, my Twitter information and my Twitch. I do stream most nights on Japanese Standard Time, and during the weekends, Japanese Standard Time. But like I said, I do mostly content in Spanish. But again, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, what did you think about this, about the story itself? What did you think about the writing? Leave anything below. Again, thank you.